Hey everybody, it's Louisa from Feel Good Astrology. I've got an echo. Have you got an echo, Tom? I just heard an echo then.
No, I'm okay.
No? Okay, that must have just been a little freak. So, hey everyone, welcome to another Great Realisations. I'm really delighted today to be welcoming you to Tom Evans. Now, just to recap what the Great Realisation series is, it's a collection of chats really with some of my favourite people or people who I feel inspired by. So I've been able to talk to people about, what their feelings are about these times, because these times are a little bit confusing. It's been called the Great Awakening, the Great Pause. And so I think it's a time when we're all learning a lot. And I think it's a useful thing to be able to check in with other people and find out how they're coping with what they're doing. So today I've got Tom, and one of the reasons why I like speaking with Tom is because he's a bit of a magician. Everything he kind of puts his attention to become quite magical. He's got this kind of way of creating something out of, I'm guessing, the ether. Like, stuff just seems to come through him. He's an absolute prolific creator. But I'm going to actually allow Tom to introduce himself, because I think he's probably going to put it a little bit more succinctly than that. But to me, he is our wizard friend.
Oh, that's
My person. So, Tom, could you just share a little bit about who you are, please?
Well, I said in my latest book, I still don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up, and I turned 60 a couple of years ago, so I'm still in that process. So yeah, I've every time I try and define what I am, then the universe seems to have another role for me. So I was a very talented engineer. I started life at the BBC, and by the time I was 25, I had my own business. By the time I was 30, I was turning over £1 million. Built and sold that business, built another business up in the internet industry and sold that one. And in my mid-40s, I was burnt out. I didn't know what to do. I always landed on my feet. And so I gave up a perfectly good job or role it was without one to go to. Started meditating, wrote a book by accident, and now just written my 16th book by accident. Along the way, I started putting some meditations with my books as accessories. You know, the idea that you have a book, then at the back there's a link. So you go to the link, you get someone's email address, and then you can flog them something. That old tired model.
Yeah.
And so my meditations were accessories, and then about 5 years ago now, I got discovered by Insight Timer. The meditations went ballistic. I think I've just done over 3 million listens now to them. And I thought I was an author with meditations on the side. And I thought I was a meditation teacher with books on the side. But this year, something weird has happened, which is also made me think, hang on, we're not done yet, is that I published my first novel in January. You know all about that because I published it on the first full moon of this month. And you did a lovely reading about that. And then I thought a great way to publicize the novel is to put some music with it, and every month I'll produce an ambient track. So I should have published my 6th ambient track this month. I've actually ended up publishing 12 of them. I've just finished the 13th one, and so I've become ambient music composer now, stroke novelist, as opposed to non-fiction writer, stroke meditation guide, or meditation guide stroke. So that's my journey. Yes, but all the way through, it's innovation, it's creativity, it's learning, and it's having fun.
Yeah. So let me just recap. So engineer, BBC, accidental author several times, podcaster, musician. That's a lot of stuff going on at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's a theme that goes all the way through, and it's about creativity. And as you say, it's creating something from nothing, from the void, I like to call it.
Yeah, which you wrote about very recently in Soulway. Which, if people haven't read, I would absolutely recommend they read. I just couldn't put the book down. It was crazy, and it's birthed the whole movement from it, really, hasn't it? So given your expanded perception and experience from writing and observing and creating sound from emotion and to create different feelings, I really like to know about what you're thinking about this time. Like, what are you making of these lockdown times? What do you think is going on for humanity, and how?
Well, you called it a great pause, didn't you? I call it a great reset, really. Yeah. And I write about it briefly in Soulwave. So Soulwave starts, it's a book set in the future history is the subtitle of it. And it starts in 2058. And at one point, I just refer back to the 20s as the time when it all went a bit pear-shaped. And funny enough, the book is based in Beijing and Wuhan, which is just a bit bizarre in its own right. Yeah. So I think this is a great reset. So I think people are struggling with it because they had not had it before. Obviously, some people are struggling with the illness and the disease and the lockdown and stuff like that. Obviously, politicians are struggling with it because they haven't been to this place before. But for every person that's struggling, because we live in this duality, someone else is thriving through it. You've seen these great acts of humanity coming out. In the UK, we're really eulogizing the NHS for all the stuff they've been doing and been underpaid for years. We're seeing now their true worth, and we're seeing that across the globe as well. We're seeing great acts of humanity. We're seeing the pollution levels drop. We're seeing people not working from home more and that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I think we're going to see a new world that emerges from it, which is great.
Yes, I agree. We've got some people sort of chatting in the chat room. We've got Carl who says, "Hola amigos, I've switched off from LBC for this." So Carl, if you've got some questions, please do put them in, because I think you're quite happy to answer questions, aren't you, Tom?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then Sengavant has also said hello, and Carl is just having a little behind the scenes conversation. So I just want to put a quick shout out for anyone that is listening. If you are listening in and you have anything that you'd like to for us to comment on, then please just put something in the chat room and we'll do our best to help you out. I'm getting a bit of feedback, Tom. Can you hear it at all?
No, I'll get some headphones. Right back.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background information about how I know Tom. I met Tom when I met my husband, actually, way back, probably 9.5 years ago. And when I met Carl, he was running a new age radio station, and that's how I think Carl and Tom got together. We've got Sue Fraser here. Hi, Sue. Hope you're well. And so when I first met Tom, you were talking about, I'll ask him in a second, but he was talking about a technology called the Cube, which I believe is still going on right now. And he's had so many sort of like wonderful interventions that he's launched from his website that have caused a lot of sort of healing and therapeutic events and effects. So I think, Tom's pretty awesome. And it's through Carl's work with the Barefoot broadcast that we came into contact. So anyway, Tom, are you ready?
I'm good. How's the feedback?
Okay, I can't hear any feedback now, so that's
great. Lovely. Yeah.
We've now also got Sue Fraser joining us. So we've got a few people having a little chat. Anyway, so where were we? You were talking about this being a time of great reset and possibly the creativity that's coming from that. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think we're going to end up with second waves, and almost like that they're almost to tell us that we haven't quite got it right yet. Before obviously there's a big desire for people to open up and all that kind of stuff, and to get out of the lockdown, because people are very frustrated by it all. And the economy is obviously getting hit right across the world. So there's quite a lot, and we've seen this already in Texas and Florida where they've opened up and they've got to close down again. We're going to get it in the UK with Leicester will be the first place for it to happen to, and I'm sure there'll be other spikes as well. And we've just got to learn to do it a different way, and that learning is going to be absolutely amazing. So through it, and we get to this great place in 10, 20, 30 years time, when we stop being abusers of the planet and we become planetary caretakers. Yes,
it's funny. As often happens with you when we're talking, we get almost synchronistic messages, like confirming stuff. As you said, we're about to get a second wave. Carl's comment ripples turns up in the chat room. It's like waves and ripples all happening at the same time. So how has what is currently going on with lockdown, how has that changed your daily practice or your work or the lives of the clients that you're in contact with?
Well, I've switched. I think I had my last private client just at the end of last year, and I kind of what you call retired now. But retirement retirement means I'm moving to a different phase of existence. So I'm not doing any more one-to-one work per se. I am taking the cube work, by the way. I'm putting that all online at the moment. I'm just making all it's called the Cube of Karma. It's I've formed it into a thing called the Path of Return, which is a lovely evocative idea that we're all walking this path together and coming back together, holding hands together. And so that's going to come out in autumn. And so this time has given me more time to do even more. So, I'm already prolific. So imagine what happens to a prolific person when you, but what I'm funny enough doing is spending more time on the stuff I used to do. So I'm not actually producing too much more, but I'm spending more time perfecting it, what have you. I'm loving putting these musical ambient tracks together, which is great. And something I love to share with you and anyone else that's listening to it is the very first track I put out on Insight Timer. I said it was as background to one of my guided meditations, and I put music from an anonymous new composer, who was me. And then nobody complained about it, and then I started putting tracks under my name, and 2-3 weeks ago I got my first request from other meditation guides saying could they use my music as background.
Wow.
And so I'm making it freely available to anybody, as long as they're not charging for it. So if you're putting something out there for free, you can have my background music for free as well.
Wow.
You can use it for the show. Absolutely, why not?
Yeah, no, that's lovely. In fact, I was listening to one of your tracks, your most recent track that you sent yesterday, and it's really I don't know, I had that feeling of kind of timelessness or endlessness, which is obviously really
because
nice.
it actually signifies the end of the book. It's a chapter at the end of the book called Extraction, so it is the end of the book. But obviously the end of the book is the start of the new epoch, is the start of the new way of being, sort of about 100 years from now. So it's more than that, actually. It's 150,000 years from now.
So given that, I mean, the timing was really quite incredible. I know you used astrology because I helped clarify the date you'd chosen to release Soul Waves on was a very, very amazing and strong date. And so you released that this year, talking about the end of humanity, or from one stage of life and the next great epoch to occur. And it's kind of, the symbolism in that is kind of insanely wow, it's a little bit too on trend, isn't it? Because like 2 months later, less than 2 months later from your release date, all of a sudden the world's in lockdown, and it looks like we're going from one state of being to another. So this is a year of parallels, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm not the only person to be writing about this. There's a film a lot of people have probably seen called Contagion. It was released a few years ago, and it's so the same as this, virtually to every scene of the film. Sorry. So,
and what do you put that down to? Is that the shared consciousness, or the sort of connectivity between humans? The fact that there might be like an idea in some kind of external record that people can tap into? How do you think that occurs?
Yeah, there's two great books if you want to read them. One they call The Phenomenon of Man by Teilhard de Chardin, he released in 1955, and the other's Gaia by James Lovelock, released in the 60s. So none of these are necessarily new books, but The Phenomenon of Man, he talks about the noosphere, the idea that the Earth has got a consciousness, and that consciousness is formed of the Earth herself plus all the beings on it, and we're a being on it, so we can tap into that. And the noosphere has got all consciousness, past, present, and future. So we're able to remember things, but also we're able to tap into the future. So even though Soul Waves is completely fictional, when I started writing it 15 books ago, some of the things I wrote about 15 years ago already come to pass. So there's nothing to say that some of the other things in it also won't come to pass, but they're in the popular zeitgeist. So I'm not, there's lots of themes in there. There's homage to Douglas Adams, for example, who was tapping into all this stuff, and the other great science fiction writers like Asimov and Ursula Le Guin and what have you. So there's a lot, and Kurt Vonnegut is one of my favorite authors as well. So there's lots of homage in there to lots of other writers, and it's always been said that science fiction writers of today are the people that are setting the seeds for the future, because then all the nerds tend to read science fiction books, and then the nerds create the technology that we get involved with, and then the technology emerges, doesn't it? So we've all got Star Trek communicators now from the 60s and what have you. So maybe teleportation won't be that far away.
I suspect it's already here anyway. It was really odd, given that I was saying just, like 10 minutes ago that the synchronicity with what you say and a comment that comes through as you started speaking about time and almost how time is irrelevant. Carl put in this into the chat room. Interesting timescale, Tom, 20 to 30 years. Now, I'm not entirely sure what he's referring to there. So, Carl, if you are still listening, let us know and we might be able to comment further. But the
and is it backwards or forwards?
Exactly. It's quite incredible, isn't it? So, given that sci-fi writers and creatives might be describing the future of humanity, have you got any further ideas and inspirations for your next books? Because that might be describing a little bit more. I'd like to kind of...
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. It's really weird. I didn't plan to write a book this year at all. I thought I'd let Soul Waves sit there for a while. And then maybe because of lockdown, maybe because I've got more time in my hands, or maybe because I meditate every day and new fresh ideas come in, I started to write the sequel and prequel. 6 chapters into a 12-chapter book, and in the Soul Waves book, I've got the Council of the Light, that are 12 disembodied counselors, and it's not a plot spot to say one or two of them incarnate, and that's part of the book, but they don't know who they are. In this book. So in the book, I've got 12 short stories of how each of the counselors has incarnated into the Earth plane or the planet plane, because some of them are not based on planet Earth, and change the course of history and do interventions or whatever. So, and I've got them going at all points. I've got one coming in before Lemuria disappeared. I'll do one for Atlantis. I've got one for when hominids on planet Earth got the word. I did one in the Cold War, in the 60s in the Cold War, stopping nuclear conflagration and what have you. Done one in the future. So it's in parallel with Soul Waves, somebody that influences the hero in Soul Waves who doesn't know him. So, and then I'm going to go right out into the future and go into Epoch 6 and Epoch 7 as well. And these are just great. And so these are all kind of inspired by a book.
Tom, I don't know if you can hear. That segment all got completely. Hello, I'm still here. I lost you though. I didn't hear the last comment that you said, and I don't know if you can hear me. Hello. This is so odd for those of you that are listening. It feels almost like our time-space connection has been jiggled around with, as is the way of energy between Tom and I, because things move really, really fast often, and it almost feels like we're in 2 different dimensions, like trying to make a connection together. Owen Lloyd Martin said hello. Yeah, Senga, I agree. Tom is lagging. It's not his brain, I promise you. He's a very smart fella. So I'm just going to ad lib until he can come back. So there's obviously something going on with the internet. Now, if any of you are really creative and like to talk about sort of like sort of futuristic ideas, I'm sure Tom will really be helpful. If you've got a question for him, I'm sure he'll answer them. In his Soul Waves book, for those of you that haven't read it, well, it's really, really amazing because it really focuses on China, funnily enough, and it talks about the last 150 years of humanity before humanity was wiped out. I shouldn't have said that because I think that's in the last chapter, so forgive me for that. But it follows the development of what the populace are doing at the time and the kinds of things that are going on, how space is being lived in, and all sorts. Right, I think I've got Tom back. Hello, Tom.
Hello, sorry about that.
It went really wrong. All of a sudden, you started to sound like one of those Smash robots, from the potato mix adverts from the 70s and 80s.
Maybe Marvin the paranoid android from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And someone said, "Oh, Tom's lagging," and then Senga, she's come back and she's saying she's loving listening to Tom's brain.
Oh, so, thank you, Senga. Thanks for applying to join Soul Waves. I'll approve you straight away. What I was going to share with you that my inspiration for all this was for this book, Cosmic Memory by Rudolf Steiner. And it's called A Prehistory of Earth and Man. And he takes us up to Epoch 5. So what I've done is I've taken some of the phenomenon of man and see some of these other non-fiction books, and I've kind of put them into a story. But what I've done is extrapolate them through into Epoch. We're in Epoch 5 right now. You read this book, going to Epoch 6 and Epoch 7. In Epoch 6, then we become planetary caretakers. One of the ideas is that every single person on Earth goes off to look after and manage another planet somewhere else in the cosmos. So we're like we're in training at the moment. We're in training for that journey.
That is quite an amazing concept, isn't it? That every one of us, like there's billions of us here. Although I'm realizing at the moment that every one of my firmly held views is up for challenging. Like right now, I mean, we are told that there are billions of people on this planet, but I don't actually know that myself. All I know is that the people that I connect with on a day-to-day level is and have connection with in some way, they're the only people that I actually know actually exist. The rest of it could be completely made up. I'm just throwing that in there, but like the idea of billions of people going off in the cosmos and like ruling their own planet and looking after it, caretaking it, and tending to it, and creating it is quite a big concept. That's pretty.
It's a big cosmos, isn't it? So, or so we think.
Yeah, exactly. It's like mind-blowing territory at the moment. My mind just seems to be getting like.
I love the idea, that we're trying to find extraterrestrial life, and I love the idea that some of this starts with religions, with the idea of original sin and all this sort of stuff, is that somehow we're impure and not worthy and all that kind of stuff. But I got my feeling is that we're actually one of the most advanced civilizations in the cosmos right now, even though we might not feel it sometimes. We do some pretty stupid things, and we've got some pretty stupid people purporting to be our leaders at the moment and what have you. But having said that, for Stardust to be self-aware and sentient is just an amazing bit of magic to pull off, really. So we could be one of the top civilizations in the cosmos as we speak, bearing in mind there are light years between us and other places. So even if someone else was as advanced or more advanced, we wouldn't know about it just now unless faster than light transmissions are made. So and therefore it's taken billions of years to get to this point, to go from the state of nothingness, of big bangness, to this state. So things have cooled down enough that we can have this experience. And in this book, Cosmic Memory, tells a different story from the Genesis in the Bible kind of story, 4004 BC, where it all kicked off, and it tells a different story from that of the materialistic scientists. And it tells the story of how consciousness started from day one, but it didn't densify into what we see as our bodies right now for many, many billions of years. And so what I've done is I've taken these ideas into the book. And in fact, there's a very interesting proto-consciousness. When planets were too hot, Steiner talks about this egg that just floats around, quite ethereal egg, and it's got a dark patch where the arms are going to come out, and a couple of dark patches where the legs can come out. And when I did my first past life regression course, everyone was going back to the Egyptian times and the court of Henry VIII and all this sort of stuff. And I went back to this point where I was just this egg floating around. Wow. And I hadn't read Cosmic Memory by then. And I read Cosmic Memory a couple of years later. I went, oh, that's what happened to my on my past life course, and then I got obliterated by a meteorite, and the meteorite was the Moldovan meteorite. There's a bit of Moldavite here, which is a great crystal to have. Right? Put that underneath your pillow, and you have really amazing dreams. So I got obliterated by the Moldavian meteorite. Then I was taking a client of mine around the cube of, this is the cube of space. I did a version called the cube of core. I was taking a client around that a few years after that, and I was describing my past life course to her, and she said, that's really, really interesting, because when I got in my past life course, I was this meteorite and I obliterated life on Earth. Like, you bugger, you killed me all those millions of years ago. And you can't make stories like that up, can you?
No, definitely not.
Oh, maybe you can. Maybe that's what I'm doing. But yeah, it's just...
I just wanted to add to your aside about Moldavite. I agree. It carries a consciousness. Every time I get a new Moldavite, I feel myself channeling the stone for quite a while. I feel like I have to kind of wake up to the stones and stuff is revealed. I've got loads of them all dotted around. I love Moldavite so much. I think it's amazing. And the cube, you mentioned the cube at the start, and when you went off to get your headphones, I mentioned the cube as well. Can you just go back and talk briefly about the cube, because I know you're going to be re-releasing it, did you say in October?
Yeah, when I went on this journey from board engineer to meditating, all weird sort of things started to happen. So I went and studied a bit of this stuff. I went on a course with a lady called Louisa Turner. Gone again. Blimey.
No, I can hear you again. The connection, it might be my fault, because I'm trying to stream to 2 different places at the same time. And the function that I'm using, StreamYard, says it can do that. But so I was just saying, Tom, the streaming problem might be because I'm streaming to 2 different places at the same time. Now, StreamYards say that I can do that, but that might be why there is a lag. So apologies. And
also,
if we can talk more anyway. Go on. What were you going to say?
And also, sometimes when we're not supposed to say something,
hang on.
The airways can get scrambled, so maybe I shouldn't tell that story. But anyways, what bottom line is, I got interested, how about we switch cameras off and just go into audio?
You know what? Yeah, let's try that. Hang on. I've never switched my camera off. Hang on a sec.
Let's try lower resolution, low definition camera. How about that?
I don't know how to do that on mine.
I've gone to lower.
I've gone to low
resolution.
Well. Yeah, I've done that.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to carry on talking to me then? Because Owen is saying that he would learn to love.
Yeah. So yes,
about his past life. He'd love to learn about his past life. It sounds inspiring. So already someone in the chat room is saying that they would like to know more, possibly about your cube. Are you there, Tom? Are you there, Tom?
Free resource on Insight Timer. I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, cool. So you're talking about Insight Timer, the free resource. Well, it's fair to say that Mercury is retrograde at the
moment. I can hear you. Yeah, I'm here.
Tom,
Owen, this is for Owen specifically. There's a meditation on Insight Timer. If you go to insighttimer.com/.
Oh, hang on. I'm going to come out of this because this is
reasons.
This is a little bit challenging. So hang on one
second.
Tom, I'm going to end this broadcast and set up a new one really quickly that just goes to Facebook, and I'll send you a link.
Okay.
You need to join me there, and I think we'll have more success. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
If you would like to join us, just go to my Facebook page in a second. Bye.